Hello and welcome to day 18 of Adventures of Tarot Casting for the month of October 2025, or whenever it is that you are seeing this video. Welcome. We are using the Projections casting sticker. I call them casting stickers because that's what they are, but I also refer to them sometimes as casting stages because that is also what they are. If you are new to this series and this is the first time you're popping in, basically what the casting stages stickers are is a place to show up with your divination tools, cards, crystals, runes, charm sets, anything to have a bigger conversation about tarot, and the stage, the sticker, becomes a backdrop, kind of like an oracle that is another layer underneath everything. So there will be Casting Cards Oracle, which is currently awaiting approval on print on demand. Once that's done, I will be giving the link and you can get your own set of cards to go with the stickers. The stickers we sell in our shop individually. So thank you for being part of my creative world. I like to refer to it as creative divination. Anyway, let's get to it. So this particular stage sticker, I call Projections, and it's a film reel, like an old film projector, and then we have like the old film, and then it's projecting onto a screen. I love everything about movies. I have always enjoyed movies. As a kid growing up, we did not have cable. We didn't really watch TV, but I had a television in my room with a video cassette player, VHS, and I worked at a couple different video stores throughout my teens and my early 20s and stuff. So I just really love movies. I love the way that it would help me escape my own little reality and go into a land of creativity through somebody else's creation, right? So that's kind of what this backdrop was inspired by, is just film. It also reminds me of being in school and seeing the teacher wheel in the film projector, and we knew it was going to be kind of like a quiet day. So there's that too. But for the divination standpoint, for bringing our tarot cards to it, I have a couple placements. I have two large placements for tarot, or you could use Oracle or Lenormand or Kipper or whatever system you want. I have stressed in this series many times that I want this to be your intuitive practice. So I want you to be inspired by what I share, but also take that as just kind of a jump off point and do your own thing with it. Pairing with this one, I thought the Pulp Tarot by Todd Alcott would be perfect, since it's a deck that is a bunch of based off of like pop culture, and even though it's like pulp books and stuff, it reminds me of movie covers. So that's what we're going to use for the tarot cards. And so what we have here is position 1 is this placement, and this is what we think is going to happen. This is the highlight reel. So this is kind of like the preview, or the teaser that you see of the movie. And then sometimes the teaser is often better than what actually the film is, So this is the projection and this is the reality. So let's get these in and start our own little reel, right? I have a note on the card here on the bottom. It says, some things to consider. Is this a standalone event or will it be an ongoing saga? You can revisit this spread accordingly as the plot continues to unfold. So, take notes, record your readings. That way you can circle back and see how it unfolds. So let's start the demo, shall we? So the projection this is what we think is going to happen. These are like our projections, our expectations. It could be around, like, you could have a scenario in mind, or you could just have it be like your current energy, current events, however you want to visit this spread. I often don't have a lot of questions when I come to tarot. I think that's why this practice is so fun for me, because it allows me to interact with the cards in a way that I really enjoy and see a conversation that unfolds, because I'm one of those people who loves deep conversations. I don't want to talk about the weather. I know what it's like outside. And so it's hard for me to come up with a question. So with this, it allows me to just see the energy and take what I need from a reading and see how it applies to my situation, right? So the projection, so this is we have the Page of Pentacles. And so that is what's being projected. So maybe that highlight reel is talking about, maybe we're in a new course of study. Maybe we are just trying to find our place in the world, and we're like thinking about everything that we could be, and we're holding it out there, and we're saying, you know what, when I am here, so this could be the story about somebody who has big plans, and, you know, how are we going to implement these plans? Well, we're at the beginning stages of it. You know, we might think that everything's going to be beautiful and wonderful. It's like right away, I feel like somebody who's leaving the farm for the big city because they think it's going to be so much better. And what could that be like, right? And so then the reality, this is what starts to unfold, right? Like this is our plot. Our plot twists the bigger picture. What the page is going to encounter, right? And so we have the Eight of Wands. I love that. And it's like right away, I feel like they are saying goodbye to their family. They're leaving. They're going to the big city. You know, they think that life is going to be so much better. And then just as things unfold, it's incoming. It could be one thing after another. And they're used to a slower way of life. And this is like, everything's fast, right? So it could really be talking about, you know, we think we know everything that we're doing, but we really need to study more on something. And then it's going to go into this position of, you know, just expect the unexpected, because it's just one thing after another. And so then the way this spread, the way I have it to work is the 3 up here I have for tarot tiles. And these are going to be production stills. Scenario 1, Scenario 2, and Scenario 3. Scenario 1 is outside forces contributing to what's going to happen quick, right? Scenario 2 is a familiar memory lending to the projection. So this could be our inner assumptions, like what we thought was going to happen. And then Scenario 3 is the neutralizing events that are going to add more information to bring clarity. And this could be the way that the person starts to be like, okay, maybe I need to just stick it out. Maybe I need to see how this plays out. And then down here we have Lenormand tiles, and these are like the action or advice. I always like to add Lenormand as kind of like an action or advice to add another layer. But let's see what the film stills say. So Scenario 1, this adds to our plot. This could be the way that they are received. This is the outside forces contributing to why everything feels like it's so fast now. And we have the 2 of Wands. And I am using my Sawyer's Path tarot tiles. These are the tiny ones. And so I see those. I see the 2 of Wands being like, you asked for the big world, and the big world's coming to you because you are going out and exploring. So that really is the outside forces of being like, careful what you wish for, because you're going to get it, right? In that planning stage of wanting something bigger, wanting something more, moving away from what was like calm and quiet, and now you're exploring the world, right? And so that's the outside world saying, okay, get ready, buckle up. And then Scenario 2 is the familiar memory. Like this could be your touchstone, what's going to help you through all the fast moving paces that's going on. These are our inner assumptions, how we feel. And we have the Sun. And the Sun is saying, you know, remember that even when things start to feel really fast and crazy and whatever, there's good reason for it. This is something that you wished for. This is like, you know, maybe as a child you dreamed of leaving this all behind and going to the big city, or going to something that was further away from you, like not wanting to be a big fish in a small town. You want to move to something bigger. And the Sun as that familiar memory is like, don't just remember the good times. and also know that no matter what, you're bringing your own light to it. You're shining. This is a new way, a new invention. The cool thing about going someplace new is you can reinvent yourself. It's up to you to bring your old stories with you, or it's up to you to share those old stories. Scenario 3 is the neutralizing events that add more information, so it kind of brings it together. And we have the Six of Wands, and it's showing that it's funny if you see these three together. So this is the neutralizing event. We have the Two of Wands here, and then the Sun, and then in this one we have the Sun in the background, and then those two have become part of our success story, right? So it's showing that if you stick it out, even though things are going to feel like there's just so much going on, that's part of the learning process. I feel like when you're in alignment, things start to happen quick. And those are those like synchronicities, right? And it shows that there's this path of success. And it's going, yeah, you were exactly right to follow this dream. And going like, this almost feels like a rom-com, or some like feel-good story of somebody who could do it. Those stories that we want to talk about and watch over and over and over again, and going, yeah, there might be some setbacks, but in the end, it was, your dream, and only you can decide if it was successful or not, right? So then the future, and we have the Lenormand. So this tells us if this is like wrapped up, or maybe this is the first in a series. Advice or guidance on how to proceed. And I've got 3 in my hand. And we have the cross, the ring, and the dog. And so that, that actually tells me that there's going to be like, yes, it may feel like a burden at first, right? With that cross energy in there. But the ring is saying, but you've committed to this. This is something that maybe you promised somebody, maybe you promised this friend that you would give it a shot. But it shows to me that it's actually going to be a good judgment call. It's going to be good because what you've been through in the past, becomes part of that, and the burden is not something that needs to be going alone. So with the dog, it's saying, there's going to be somebody who shows up in this. So this is definitely a rom-com that is faithful. Maybe it's the friend who's in the friend zone, who wants to be more than that. But it's saying honoring those commitments because you already know what's in the past. And you can always go back to that, and you can always stay in that little small town. And that to me is that cross energy of like, I don't want it, And then the ring and the dog is saying, give yourself a chance to be loyal to those commitments and go out and put yourself out there. This would be a really good spread too. For some reason, I'm thinking about like if you have a job offer or something, a new opportunity that you're seeking, you could say, well, this is what I think is going to happen. And then this could be what's actually the energy around it. And these are like contributing actors, that lay into it. And this could be what your likely outcome is going to be. It seems like such a simple spread, and maybe it's not one that you would have even considered because you're not really into movies or film or whatever. But the purpose of this series is to show you how to use them, how I would use them, and maybe spark some ideas. And you could be like, oh, I would use that particular reading for this, And even if you decide not to get the stickers and you decide you want just the casting card oracle, I have the spread and all the positions, so you don't need the backdrop. The backdrop just makes it a little bit more fun. But anyway, so that's the projections casting sticker. Let's see what we're going to be working with tomorrow as we go into day 19. And again, this pile is getting thinner and thinner, so it's getting harder to shuffle, which is good. But it's also sad because it means that the month is coming to an end. But I think I'm going to continue this, if not every day, definitely a few times a week over on Patreon. So make sure you're part of that circle, my creative divination circle over there. It's a lot of fun. Okay, and we have butterflies. So tomorrow we will be traveling with the butterflies 3 card. Just a nice simple spread. As always, thank you for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. You never know. I do readings every Tuesday for the collective, aside from this series. And sometimes I share art and creative stuff, but it's mostly tarot these days. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you enjoyed this spread, please let me know. If you've used it, please let me know. I love to interact in the comments, and I will see you here tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.